Yeah, obviously a player with a lot of experience. I think generally, if I take a step back, something that I articulated in the interview process is that the trenches would be something that we prioritize, and obviously, I think that's something that was showcased through our actions in pro free agency, and obviously here with the first 3 picks, we see that show up again, and obviously competition across the entire roster is important to us, but I think making sure that at the offensive line, depth is never something that we're concerned with. And obviously he's somebody that's walking in as a rookie and is going to come in with a high level of college experience and really a lot of the elements that I think our fan base now knows we covet, which are the intangible elements. And, it's something that we look forward to him bringing to the room and really absorbing across the group that's already here.
Quick follow-up, why were you willing to drop 18 spots, which seems like a lot in a draft where they talk so much about how late second round, third round would be a strength of this draft?
Yeah, I think the board continued to show itself as, having depth with players that we had a lot of appreciation for and were given an offer that, was certainly enticing, especially as we look forward to next year. But with the majority of our line of thought being focused on the 2 players that we landed, ultimately it was something that we were willing to gamble with, and we also, while it was a slow start to the night, so to speak, it was a fast finish, and certainly felt like that was something that we enjoyed and look forward to seeing come to life once those 2 guys get in the building and on the grass.
What do you like about Caleb Ransom?
Gosh, it's an endless list. I don't know how much time we got, but he was somebody that really sparked my interest once I got on the job here. Not a player that I had enough familiarity with walking into the door, but our coaches, did such a good job articulating the vision for his usage, opened my eyes to a lot of elements that he possesses, and one of the things that really jumps out more than anything is the versatility. And as we look at that defensive back room, obviously the capacity to play corner, play safety, he showcased the post work at the All-Star circuit that really jumped out. Obviously, if you were to ever look at his stat page, what stands out is his tackle ratio. The root word of the position safety is safe. And he's somebody that can make sure that when there is someone who gets loose, he can get them down. And you notice that the on-ball production isn't something that jumps out because he was putting a ton of man tasks, and his eyes weren't on the ball. And once he got to the Senior Bowl and he was playing with vision to the quarterback, playing from the post, he got a lot of on-ball production in that setting. And so that was certainly something that caught our attention. And, beyond just the on-field play, and this is for both Wyatt and for Caleb, they are players who possess the Jaguar DNA that we've leaned into at each pick point so far and intend on doing the same moving forward, and that is everything that I've touched on to date of players and people who are intangibly rich. So that was really something that led us in that direction and stood out from start to finish.
So you envision him only as a safety, or do you want to play him in slot? I know you signed Jordan Lewis.
Right.
Any outside corner work
Right.
too, or mostly safety?
Yeah, he'll have the entire defensive back group that he'll be moving in and out of, but I think to start it'll be at the safety spot, and then we'll go from there.
James, have you been able to, how's Cooper Hodges doing with his rehab, and do you expect him to, be out there?
You know what? That's a great question. He's in the building. He's doing his rehab. Timetable is still something that is a little bit of an unknown, but he's working hard. He's in here every day just like the rest of his teammates, and looking forward to, seeing that progress come to life here soon.
Yeah, and Wyatt, you kind of envision him on that offensive line. What is it about adding kind of to that interior of the line? Did you feel like you just kind of needed a boost there?
You know what? Again, I'll go back to you can never have enough security across the offensive line, and the depth there is important. I've been a part of scenarios where attrition has occurred, and it typically does throughout an NFL season, in particular across the offensive line, and it can be debilitating for an offense. And that's something that I don't want to put us at risk for, knowing just how important that is. And so continuing to sort of build the depth across that group is something we're prioritizing. And, I think to point back to some of the comments I made in the early going of being on the job, the idea of setting the disc, in particular, the internal sort of pocket, and a quarterback feeling comfortable with stepping into that, right? That's important as well. And so I think the moves in pro free agency, the moves here, they all point to that. And certainly look forward to seeing whether or not it plays out in the way that we would like. But I think this is a step in the right direction.
So first, just to clarify, are you starting him at guard?
Mhm.
You will start him at guard? Okay, cool, perfect.
But again, just like with Caleb, it's the versatility is absolutely an alluring element to both of these players.
Absolutely.
I mean, and I don't know if it has to be said, but the versatility in Travis Hunter also stood out.
Yes, absolutely. Speaking of versatility, I know when we spoke with you after pro free agency, that initial wave, you stressed getting rookies along the defensive line, getting them out onto the grass. Obviously, none of those picks have materialized. Did the board present itself in a way tonight that you felt confident not having to lean into either of those two positions?
Yeah, that's exactly right. We let it speak to us, and certainly with the two that we walked away with, we feel good about. Look forward to seeing how the remaining 6 picks unfold here tomorrow. Time will obviously tell, but yeah, that'll be a position group that we look to address.
And given all the movement, obviously, factoring in undrafted free agency, is that, something that you're also keeping in the back of your mind because of how many roster spots there currently are? Or?
Absolutely. I mean, that's a space that we want to continue to tap and make sure that the competition level across the roster is as good as we can make it. And I think with the idea that there will be so many undrafted college free agents that we bring in, that inherently creates a dynamic in which people are fighting for jobs, people are fighting for spots, and you feel that when those guys get in the building, get on the grass. It's something that, as I think back to my experience with the Rams, we've gone into a draft with only 45 players on roster. So this is a healthier version of that, so to speak, if you're looking at more being healthy.
Couple more.
Jade, let's go.
6'6", big guy, a little bit bigger than traditional guard. What's the transition going to be like for a guy that big, and does that present any challenges?
Similar to Caleb, what we saw with Wyatt was a move inside at the Senior Bowl. The chance to showcase his versatility and not just play on the outside. And another element to Wyatt, I mean, blocking people is there are similarities regardless of if you're inside or outside, but obviously there are different nuances to it. He's matched up with a lot of really high caliber rushers over the course of his career, whether you go back to Will McDonald or even at Kansas State with the rusher that went to Kansas City, and then Abdul this past year. I mean, those were high capacity rushers, and he showcased a really calm demeanor and poise and pass protection, but also a rough and rugged finish. And I mean, that was a cool combination that really jumped out to us, and look forward to him being able to provide us with some version of versatility, but also start with the idea that the interior is where he'll spend most of his time off the jump.
Do you see a lot of value for Caleb as a special teams coverage guy?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that's a great spot.
Or just punt?
Oh, I think it'll be both. Yeah, that's not going to be something that we limit him on. He's somebody whose tackling capacity is as rare as you might put the category for a defensive back, and obviously with the range, the speed, it's a pretty unique combination.
Wrap it up with John.
James, 3 trades so far, getting some future picks as well. Just what can you say about how smooth that process has been as you guys have been going up and down the board?
Oh, you know what? It's been very smooth. I got to give a lot of credit to our internal group who's fielding a lot of calls and crunching a lot of numbers. And, obviously that stuff happens at a fast pace. And so remaining poised, cool, calm, collected, it's something that's really stood out. And obviously, when you're making a call to the first pick and you're executing a trade simultaneously, you end up seeing that you're now on the clock again, and there's a shot clock, right? And so you better speed that call up to ensure that you can make another. But nonetheless, it's been a pretty graceful process, and one that has been fulfilling to date. But we'll see, what comes with it tomorrow.
Everybody good? All right, cool. Thanks, guys.
Thank you all.